Hi, this is Kimberly with Real Progressives. I'm at home on the farm in Virginia, and Don Ford is here.
Hi.
Don Ford worked on a documentary called What's Next After the Primary. He also worked on the Bernie campaign, and he's out traveling.
The grassroots. You can't, there's so many Bernie campaign people. I was on the grassroots end of it, yeah.
So again, this is Don Ford, and he's going to update us on what's going on with this documentary, What's Next, and what he's doing in this movement. Because as a movement, grassroots and nationally, we're going a lot of different directions, but really we all have the same progressive goals. And Don's going to talk about the direction that he's going, what he's doing personally, and what's going on with his documentary, What's Next.
Hi. So we did a documentary. Well, we did, first off, to say we shot a documentary right off the bat, I don't know if that's completely fair, because we went out knowing that after the convention, all the Bernie grats were going to be in a very specific place. So we went out and we captured as many as we could, trying to get that identity on paper or on camera. And now we're getting ready to continue filming the process of the progressive takeover of politics. Now, a lot of people see and recognize me as part of the Dem Enter movement, and there's some confusion as to whether or not I may or may not be on the right side of things. And ultimately, you know, what we're trying to do is organize the progressives. I like to say that the most important thing that the establishment feared during the Bernie campaign was the crowds. And so getting those crowds to show up in targeted places is how we're going to influence the quickest change. Now, I have a saying that you'll also appreciate, I think you'll appreciate this, that we're all ultimately trying to break through the glass ceiling. We're all trying to, the glass ceiling, we're all trying to get, you know, move our lives forward, the work we're doing. And so ultimately, this is an element of trying to implement a very complicated progressive agenda in a corporate-owned world. So, you know, when you talk about an inside-outside strategy, you need to have people inside the party pressuring the party one direction while you organize outside the party, because that's going to allow us to have a greater, like, we need the people who are inside the party, the young people, the progressives, the Bernie people, to be coordinating with people outside the party, so we can coordinate these two groups together, both inside and outside the party, when we need them. You know, my goal isn't to get anyone to donate money or anything. My goal is to get people to support progressives on all ends of it. If we have people in the Green Party that are having trouble, we should have people cross over in order to help them find their leadership positions. If PIP is getting someone they feel like is a really good candidate and they're going somewhere, we should be able to cross over and help them when they're needed. And that's about helping progressive candidates.
Don has been very, very open to different strategies. He's focused on one strategy that, you know, that he thinks that will help. Real Progressives doesn't necessarily take a stance.
Yeah, that's a very...
I'm here reporting Don Ford's side and where he stands, and Don has always been extremely nice and extremely open to outside movements. So there are people working outside to try to push progressive policies. There are people trying to start independent third parties. There are people involved with the Green Party. And Don has always been extremely polite and open-minded and understands that there needs to be action everywhere. You support action
everywhere. Yeah,
everywhere.
No, wherever people are going to organize. You know, not everybody wants to do what I'm doing, and not everybody wants to do what Eric Hell from the PIP party is doing. And the thing is that ultimately we share a value and we make up a majority. So at some point we have to be able to coordinate those people to make a new majority. And that really comes from keeping people organized, keeping people going. A lot of movements are diffused because they stop us from continuing the momentum. And I feel like however we're going to organize people, no one really anticipated us to be able to do it at this level. So I just want people to stay active and stay involved and find a way to work together. And that, like I said, that doesn't mean necessarily just doing what I'm doing. I have been supporting Kenneth Mejia. He's a Green candidate in 34. There's a lot of pressure to support Arturo. I'm kind of staying out of an endorsement in that race because I figure that people need the best opportunity to see what can happen, and that's really, really important to me, because I think you can't tell somebody how it's going to happen all the time. I mean, I do at times. I admit I'm not perfect, but for the most part, you have to let people go through the paces, give them the best opportunity, and you can't tell people they're not going to win when they're trying so hard and they have volunteers and they are building something. It's just, what is it going to be? Are we going to are the progressives, is the, somehow Bernie's going to get fed up and move over, or is there going to be a power shift for the Democrats are so weakened we have to do something? Whatever it is, we want to be ready. And so for me, I know that in the 10 years it'll take to get the ball rolling, we can do this in 5 years, this in 2 years, and this in 1 year. And there's no reason we can't do all of those things and coordinate people in the right places. I think it's just, we have a sense of absolutism that's kind of getting in the way a little bit.
I think what's so important is that we're all working towards really the same goal. Whether you're Dem-Enter, or you're a Green Party, or you're purely independent, it's really all working towards the same goal. And what may work in California may not work in Virginia.
Yeah, I know, that's really
a Dem-Enter
true.
strategy is probably not going to work in a gerrymandered Republican district. Independents can win in one place when they can't win in another. So I really think a multi-strategy is an okay thing.
Yeah, you really need to look at the autonomy of the states and the districts inside of them. You can't see things as I think that's a big problem why the Democrats have been losing races, is because the Republicans can look at everything as one big picture because they follow that canon at the end of the day. But for Democrats, we're all taught to think so differently. So there's such a spread out sort of idea. You know where I'm going with this. So they've been trying to treat every race the same, and that's where they've been failing. And so if we get into the progressives and the progressive takeover in general, because it's more than just progressive takeover of the party, it's supposed to be the progressive takeover of our government. And that's the big thing I feel like that we kind of forget in the process of trying to focus on our goal, because we're trying to take over the Senate and Congress and all these much bigger things. So it's, it's just going to take us all working together. When it's time to pull the trigger, we have to pull the trigger and make a move, or else we don't implement these policies.
Can you tell me what's going on with your documentary and explain what you did and how
you
traveled throughout the
So
US?
we traveled, there were 3 of us essentially, that we traveled all over the country, just interviewing anyone we could to talk about gerrymandering, healthcare, education, a variety of issues, environment, a variety of issues affecting progressive policies, because we as progressives do not have a progressive platform. I mean, we have things that look like platforms, groups have platforms, but they're not like very simple, these are the pieces of the pie, these are the organizations that are working on it, and this is how this all lays down. And I feel like I'm trying to work towards that goal. I'm trying to work towards that goal of I understand that progressives do a lot of fundraising. They have to coordinate a lot of money very specifically in order to move towards, standardizing our election process and potentially getting money out of politics. So it's a long road ahead of us and a lot of work. And I don't want to, I just feel like the big thing for me, and the reason I do focus on Dem-Enter, and this isn't my point of trying to convince anybody, but this is why I do it, is because I recognize that Republicans are 2 state house legislatures away from being able to amend our Constitution at will. So that's called a constitutional congress or convention. I'm forgetting which constitutional convention. And it's happened before, and they're very dangerous. And I think that with everything we've seen with the Republicans in Congress, the idea of them rewriting our Constitution scares me for anything. Yeah, the problem with 5 for 15 is that by the time we get 15, we're going to need 20. And so 15 in my opinion is too low. And also I feel like we need some states need more than other states. So it's sort of a cost of living thing. We need to create an index so that people can go based on the cost of living against the thing, and then work it all out.
I'm also personally not a fan of the fight for 15 because I don't feel like it's enough money in a lot of places. So I always advocate based on the business and the area.
Overall, I fight for 15. Overall, I support everything they're trying to do, because right now people are making less than $7.50 an hour in some places. So if they got $15 an hour, it would radically change their life. And people in LA, for example, are living on $15 an hour. Even though you really can't, they do. So getting that would be a huge step. So I don't want to sound like I'm diffusing a movement. I witnessed them at Hofstra when we were traveling around, and it was really, really intense. It was really special. So I went down just recently. I saw Tim Canova in Miami talking about his water project. I'm going to be talking to Lee Camp and some Our Revolution people. Yeah, something does need to be done. So I'm going to be talking to some of those people, and we're trying to just basically coordinate everyone so that instead of it,
Michelle.
we really
minimum wage stay relative to the local cost of living.
Yeah, the state, yeah, exactly. And that's not even state, that becomes by city is still an issue. So, I just want to, right now I am fundraising for the last end of the film. We're going to be filming from Now I'm on the road making the connections. The same thing I did last time, where you get on the road, you meet lots of people. Keith Ellison agreed to do an interview. I have a bunch of state party chairs that are ready to do it. I'm going to talk to Eric Hell from the Pit Party.
See,
I have an interview with
Brian
Steve.
was just talking about Progressive Independent Party on here, and Don plans on meeting with Eric Hell Bloss with Progressive Independent Party.
I was actually had the opportunity to be a founding member of PIP when they were first getting off the ground, and I decided that I was going to focus on reforming the party and that we were going to try to coordinate together. That was a conversation that we had. So I'm going to try to get more of these voices and opinions, and then we have some big announcements. So right now, you can check us out at whatsnextdocumentary.com. We also have a Facebook page, which is What's Next Documentary. I'm trying to fundraise a little bit of money because this has been extremely grassroots. Right now, I'm doing a little fundraising drive today for about less than $500, very small, and we're trying to focus on April 9th. We're going back on the road. I'm talking to bigger investors because I need to raise a significant portion for the end of the film, and we're going to be filming for a month, starting in LA, moving to Florida, and then in Florida there's going to be a Florida conference with the People's White House, where we're going to do a large progressive Florida sort of meeting, and we're going to have some big announcements there about what we're doing moving forward and trying to help progressive candidates give push up. So there's going to be some talk about fundraising organization. There's going to be a talk about some traveling conferences, some more stuff to get meaty, get the bigger announcement out there about progressive politicians and trying to push, because everyone's talking about 2018, but 2017 is right around the corner, and we got to win these state house
races,
yeah,
Governor race in Virginia.
Everyone needs to focus on Virginia and a couple other states, because every single state office is up for election, and this stuff is just easily ignored. And you got to remember, when you're dealing with the control, we're fighting the oligarchy and the people, right? We're not fighting the left versus the right. It's the oligarchy versus the people, the 99% versus the 1%. The basis of their control is built around low voter turnout. So when people feel like they're not going to show up, that's how they can change results. You don't need to cheat the elections if people don't show up.
Voter turnout is incredibly low in the state elections here in Virginia, so people need to get out there and vote. We need to get people motivated.
Yeah, it's really important, and that's kind of where I feel like, when we talk about dem exit or dem enter or dem anything, being absolute about what we're doing, it's a very dangerous talk, because the more divided we are, the more we shrink our power. So I'm hoping over the next, right now, there are a lot of party turnovers going on. There's a lot of opportunity for people to become leaders. What I've been saying to people is, when we talk about the Dem Party dying, this is a scary factor. I was at the DNC elections. There are a lot of young people that want to join the party. There are a lot of young people. They're not progressive. They're not ultra progressive. They're not the ultra left wing. They don't care as much about this agenda. They're not as interested in the thing. And the thing is our people could be in there leading them to being those progressives, because they don't know. There's no bench from the old politicians to the young politicians. So there's this huge gap where our leadership could be in there teaching those people what's the best move, where they should go, how they can implement these policies. So I feel like there's a lot of opportunity at special elections in Washington this year. There's a lot of opportunity for us to implement ourselves in a larger leadership chain. And here's the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, they're totally corporate devs. We get shut out forever, which honestly, the DNC elections didn't show that to me. We get shut out forever, but then we have all the people organized to actually create the third party. So that's the far end of this idea. Whereas if we're all organized together, then starting a third party, if we do get truly shut out, is totally feasible. But I feel like right now there's a lot of people that want to have change. There's going to be a big pushback against Trump that we've all seen, and I feel like this is an opportunity for us to launch our progressive agenda. That's very complicated. So however we do that, that's really my focus. I'm just I'm moving from dem enter over to more independent work, and then I'm going to be looking into a Senate campaign potentially in California.
There you go. So I want to thank you for the work that you've done. I just think it's really important that people have stepped up and gotten involved, and it's important to push progressive policy, whether you are dem enter or however you want to go about making the change that we need to see in the world. The reality is that Congress needs to be changed out. It's really difficult because independents have not traditionally won. So there are people on the outside organizing and fighting for third parties, but then there are also people who see that it's maybe possible to change the Democratic Party from the bottom.
I really think that the best yes, absolutely. I really think the best opportunity for a third party to clear way is by changing our corrupt election processes. And the only way to do that is to have, we have to create a majority between the actual American population where we take the Democrats and get them on board completely 100%, and then we only need a small fraction of the Republicans that already believe our election integrity is an issue. So we can take those two and create the 60% we need to actually get election reform, and in that process we can open up the party system for a third party. And I feel like that's really, at the end of the day, I'd like to see that happen, because I figure that's how we're going to have a greater investment. And that should be on both sides. Libertarian Party is getting a lot of ground in other places. And if we really want to shrink corporate control of our government, then we do ultimately have to make that move. So we all just have different ideas on how we can get there. And the most important thing we can do is not see our ideas as mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I agree with that. So thank you for your time, Don. Don's out traveling around. He's going to be on the road again in April. And he'll be finishing up the documentary, What's Next? So again, this is Don Ford. And
it's what'snextdocumentary.com. We're doing a minor fundraising drive right now, just small donations. We really appreciate anything. Check out our Facebook page. It's the same thing, What's Next Documentary, or you can follow me on Facebook at Don Ford.
Okay, thank you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.